Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Timeless Podcast here today. It's technically the 1 year anniversary of the podcast while we're filming this on the evening of Sunday, the 31st of January. But for you guys, it is the first day of the second year of the Timeless Podcast. I'm joined by Owen as promised. Hello, Owen. You look very
Good evening.
cozy.
Yeah, just a little bit, yes.
How's your head? If you don't know, last night Owen got a bit drunk.
I'm a bit more clearer now. I don't feel so there. But yeah, I'm feeling a bit better.
Good. Yeah, many C words were thrown around by Owen last night. I don't think anyone was safe for the time the night
I
ended.
don't remember much, but I do vaguely remember that.
I mean, you don't even need to get drunk to use the C word anyway. You'll use it in any context. But
In the nicest possible way.
unless they are just being in which case you'll just call it. But right, this week, there's not really much intro we can do because we talked like 2 days ago. So it's not like I
Yeah,
haven't spoke to you probably in a week. So I suppose this could just be a very short one, but you did just get 2 hours of us yesterday. So that's your prerogative.
yeah. I
But
think I've probably
obviously,
been on these for the past 2 or 3 weeks. What with the drunk watch-alongs and the
yeah, I suppose.
anniversary.
I mean, John's about to hit four in a row because we don't know John has lent an audio clip in this podcast. So
Yeah,
there is that.
I think this is my
But
fourth in a row actually.
no, because you haven't done either of the wrestling ones.
Well, I mean, sort of like 4 weeks in a row because there was the two drunk watch-alongs, then there was the anniversary 1 week after, and then this one.
Exactly. So Owen, obviously a month ago, which seems crazy, we reviewed the latest episode of Doctor Who,
Yeah.
Revolution of the Daleks, and then
Yep.
after that, I left it up to a random name picker to decide what we would be reviewing, and it turned out to be the John Pertwee story, Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Now, try your best to describe the plot of this one because it sounds ludicrous when you'll say it, but let's see what we think.
So the Doctor and Sarah Jane arrive in London, and it looks like it's a Sunday morning because it's just dead quiet on the streets. And it probably, no doubt, was filmed on a Sunday. Um, but yeah, the whole of London is deserted because of these appearances of dinosaurs. So T Rexes and Brontosaurus and Triceratops, pterodactyls, you name it. You've got every dinosaur in there. Um, and the Doctor and Sarah Jane are basically trying to find out what's going on, why it's so deserted. Um, and then I think they sort of find that units sort of been infiltrated by this um, group of people who are basically experimenting with time, hence where the dinosaurs are coming from. Um, and they're basically trying to send Earth or the human race back to its golden age, where it was a lot greener, and um, I think yeah, it's basically like the Green Death, where it's warning people about the global environment and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's basically sort of the outline of the story there.
And people say Doctor Who wasn't political until the Chibnall era. I point them to this story. Um, right. So, what did you think of Invasion of Dinosaurs? This is my first time watching. I assume you've seen this before, right? Because you've
I
spoke to me about
have,
this.
yeah. I think this is my third time watching it, and I absolutely love it. I think it's great. It's another one of my favourites. I mean, Doctor Who's dinosaurs. What's not to love?
Exactly. I'm in the middle, leaning towards liking it. It does actually no. I enjoyed the majority of it. Um, I will say there are points where I did find it difficult to follow. I think there's a lot going on in this story, and it sort of all doesn't link up. And also, I don't think not having seen the Green Death, I was a bit confused with the whole Yates storyline because I believe that's where his kind of like betrayal kicks off. But I've not watched that one yet, so I was a bit confused there. But overall, it's enjoyable. It's fun. It's pertwee, kicking some ass with some dinosaurs. You know, it's unit at its best with some amazing like there the fight scenes. There's action. Sarah Jane's here, so you can't go wrong. But yeah, I think it's heavily enjoyable. I'll get my negatives out the way. So first of all, I don't think everything needed to be there. So for example, I think there's a lot going on, lots of characters that don't really. It could have been a lot tighter. There's so much going on sometimes. So, like sometimes you'll cut away to a story arc and there's another story arc, whereas it kind of gets a bit convoluted and muddled. They kind of do a good job wrapping it up by part six. But for example, the whole Sarah Jane spaceship storyline I thought wasn't really necessary. It's a bit strange. I mean, I understand it's about them leaving the Earth because of the Golden Age. It's all gone wrong, but I don't know whether that was the best way to package that for me. I felt rather
Yeah, I mean,
confused.
I think if you didn't have that in there, then you know that collective group who were organising it, if they tried to swindle them a story or even the truth, they probably wouldn't have believed it anyway, and so they wouldn't have had anyone to go back to this golden age. So I think that they've basically used some sort of, I don't know, reconditioning for them to believe this whole thing that they're going to a new planet, for them to go along with it. So they'll have people for their new golden age. Um,
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think for me, it
mm,
just sort of it wasn't. I don't know. It felt like an extra layer that possibly didn't need to be there. Yeah, I don't know, mate, but I enjoyed Sarah Jane. It gave Sarah Jane a lot of opportunity to do a lot of things and that go away from the Doctor and be very smart and intuitive. So it gave her character something to do, which I like. I also liked the person that she met there. I'm not very good with names in the story, so you're gonna have to help me out. But the bloke that she met, that was kind of a fun little thing there going on, and I'm happy that
oh,
he wasn't dumb enough to not believe her, and it made sense straight away, and it was all fairly.
yeah, I can't remember his name either.
We'll get to it when we talk about characters. And also, my other negative is that this story does not need to be 6 parts long. I thought parts one, two, and three were
I
absolutely.
think it could have been done in four.
I think four, yeah, in part four, literally nothing happens.
Mm,
They're literally part four. I believe the cliffhanger to the end of part three. It might be the end of part four. I don't know. The end of part three, I think, is when the Doctor gets framed for being the one that creates the dinosaurs. And my part four might be lost, but there is literally that whole episode is just them discussing whether the Doctor is bad, which could have been done in 5 minutes. Because as an audience, we know that
mm,
already. So just see characters discuss and discuss and discuss while
mm,
Sarah Jane gets teleported away to the spaceship. All that could have been done in like 5-10 minutes. So I
yeah.
could see 5 parts, but it was a bit too long. I thought part six was great. Part five was the build up to part six. It was getting there, but there was a good 20-30 minutes where not a lot happens within the story. I did find myself going, check Twitter, what's going on a little bit. Um, but apart from that, no, I think everything else is actually very good. Um, Obviously, I think it's part one of this story that is missing. I think is it part one that they're to or the color version's missing, so they recolorize it,
Yeah, they had to recolorize it,
which is
which
why it
I'm
looks.
sure when they do the box set for it eventually,
They'll
that
redo it
they'll get
again.
probably someone to recolorize it and do a very good job of it. But
Yeah,
yeah, because I
because of
remember
it.
when I started watching it earlier on, um, it was very sort of like you could see it was black and white, and there wasn't that much color in it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, either way, it's still
No, no, no.
enjoyable.
Part one's very good, and I mean, obviously, we're not gonna judge effects in the Pertwee era of Doctor Who because in this story we get dinosaurs, which for the most part, actually, I think don't look that bad.
Mm.
I think
I mean,
the
to
only
me, they
time,
look very Ray Harryhausen
yep,
monsters.
no,
Very, very
yep,
similar looking.
I can get behind that, and I because the only times I thought it did look a little bit bad, there was one shot where Pertwee was looking at it. It's a long shot away. You see the T-Rex in the background, and Pertwee's in the foreground. That's the only time it didn't really work. But I mean, there's some detail to the models they used, and it's actually some really cool stuff. Like, for example, there's one shot where they've like knocked out the T-Rex. I think it's a T-Rex, and it's in the background, locked up, chained up, and you can actually see it breathing. And they've got that, they added that detail in, so it's not just a flat
Yeah,
model on the ground. They actually did some stuff with those models, which makes it, add it, add that effect to it. But yeah, there's only a few times where like people were in shot, and obviously they've had to use the green screen, so it does look a bit out of
yeah.
proportion.
I
But
mean, you
apart
got to
from
love
that,
that colour
I think the
separation overlay.
dinosaurs are really good. I actually really enjoyed the direction in the first episode when they're attacked by the pterodactyl. That's actually very well shot because it's quick cuts, so you can't really see how bad the prop is. And Pertwee's always very good in those action scenes at doing very good facial expressions that kind of add to what's going on. There was only one time I think Pertwee's facial expressions kind of lack any enthusiasm, which is when there's a literal dinosaur fight in front of him and he just looks like this. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that
that's
was
what he's doing.
outside of the station.
Yeah, he's like, hmm. Whereas if I think any other person, Time Lord or human, seeing two dinosaurs right in front of you, I don't think you just look and go. Just looked a bit bored, really.
Yeah.
But
It's
no,
like,
I
two dinosaurs having a fight. Okay, I'll just let them get on with it.
yeah, I also thought as well that actual bit was very good. It was very ambitious, but it wasn't
Yeah.
too long, and therefore I didn't mind it. I mean, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but I think the biggest hurdle for especially non-Who fans, or maybe I haven't got into Classic Who yet, the biggest hurdle is the dinosaurs and how they look, because a lot of times you can like forgive CGI in Classic Who, but this one is heavily reliant on CSO, and
Yeah.
which obviously very ambitious and very respectable, but for some people it's not going to work and take them out. For me, it worked all right because they're not there too much, but they always have a constant presence. So they're there. But yeah, is there anything in particular that stands out to you within the story?
I don't know really. I mean, I just enjoy the whole um, story as a whole. I love the introduction to the Whomobile in episode 4, which is what I messaged you about earlier about the introduction to the
Does it
Doctor's
ever come back? Does it
new
ever come
vehicle.
back? Does it ever come back?
Hmm.
Does it ever come back?
Yeah, it does come back in uh, Planet Spiders.
And that's it.
Yeah, I think that was it. But yeah, John Pertwee did own that, and then he gave it to a fan to look after, who I believe probably still has it to this day. And every so often, it makes like a reappearance at an event of some sort.
Yeah, it's
And it was
again, it's
actually road legal as well. So John Pertwee would drive it down the road and get pulled over by police, and he has to go through the whole thing. Yes, it's road legal. No, the headlights are not too far apart or whatever. But basically, the police just wanted an autograph from John Pertwee and just sit in the Whomobile.
understandably so. I'll quickly go through the crew because I forgot to do that. So this was the writer was Malcolm Hulke, a very esteemed writer at the time. Paddy Russell directed it, and obviously it was produced by Barry Letts, and it aired between the 12th of January and the 16th of February in 1974. Christ, how old were you then, Owen?
Sharp.
Um, but yeah, also this is my first. I know it's going to sound heinous, but it's my first story with 3 and Sarah Jane. If you don't count the 5 Doctors, in which they team up. But I've not watched Time Warrior. I know, sue me. There's. I mean, to be fair, that's kind of the good thing about me not watching it is now when we do the series. I mean, obviously it's going to take a while, but we'll catch up and I'll watch stories that I've not seen and slowly upgrade my calendar of who-ness. But yeah, I think overall it's super. Like this is probably the most ambitious classic for the time, for sure. I don't even think many of them are rivaled by this because you don't really get these big like action thrillers in later Who, where dinosaurs
Mm,
pop up. I mean, the Five Doctors, I guess, is ambitious on a writing perspective to try and fit five Doctors in. But in terms
mm.
of the crew and the production, this is probably one of the most ambitious, if not the most ambitious, classic Who story.
Well, one of the things also about this is that the very first episode they just called it Invasion, and I think by the time that one had aired, they thought, "Oh, hang on, what about that Cyberman story, Invasion?" So then from episode 2 onwards, it was Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Well, I thought, well, I did. I read somewhere that they did that to keep it a secret and so that nobody knew what was coming up. But I don't know
Ah, okay, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah,
because obviously at the end of the first episode, it's revealed that there's dinosaurs.
yeah.
The Also, I do have to say the cliffhangers in this story are spectacular
Mm.
throughout. There's every episode because there's some cliffhangers in classic Who where you just go, is that the cliffhanger they used? It
Yeah,
doesn't really
it's
grip you.
like Death of the Daleks and the floor. Literally, John Pertwee just stops, looks at the floor. The camera shot looks at the floor, and then it just goes, and then that's it.
Whereas
So
in this, I think
it's just like unknown of what's going on with the floor.
three of them are dinosaur cliffhangers, which is really cool. Everyone that dinosaur cliffhanger is really good as well, especially the first one when at the end of part one you see the T Rex, and it's like really cool. I It sounds weird but this is like you said, this is essentially Doctor Who meets Jurassic Park, in a very good way as well. I mean, John Pertwee is definitely set apart from that one time. I think John Pertwee's selling it brilliantly. Because apart from that one time where he looks at the fight and he's just like, the rest of the time he's in it, he's involved, he looks great. I'm digging the blue suit he's wearing throughout the story. I don't
I
know if he
love
wears
that
it.
outfit.
I don't know
Mm.
whether he wears it anymore, and I'm just being dumb. But this is the first time I've definitely seen him wear this
I
variant
think he
of
just wears it for that because in the next one he's wearing Death of the Daleks. I think that's the same costume he wears in the Green Death. So it's sort of like the black jacket with the red piping around the lapel and everything.
yeah. So I
And
mean,
then I
yeah,
think in his last story was like a darker blue jacket.
yeah. There we go. And obviously he wears green in the Time Warrior, and so he wears something in Monster of Peladon, but I don't know what it is.
Mm. Yes, he's certainly a man of style.
Yes, Pertwee is, and I'm not going to say I'm not the biggest fan of Pertwee, but I struggle with Pertwee stories because of the length of the stories. Because Pertwee's era is very much large blockbuster stories that can go over many parts. Some of them 7, which I think is too long for any Doctor Who story. Um, Even if there was a modern Who story that was over 2 hours long, I'd probably go. "Mm,
Yeah, I think they could have just done away with the mutants because I didn't find that story very good at all.
The only 7-part story I think actually works is Inferno.
Oh yeah,
I think that's the only one
that's
where every
probably the best Pertwee story of all time.
yeah, there's not many that rival it. I mean, 3 Doctors just for the novelty.
Mm.
Yeah, I know our friend Reese is a big fan of the Time Warrior, which obviously haven't got around to yet. But no, this story is certainly it's entertaining. There's not a moment where, apart from in part 4, like I said, the rest of it is that you're glued to the screen. You want to find out what's going on.
Mm.
Also, as well as this isn't obviously the last hurrah, but it sort of is like, to my knowledge, is that the Daleks set on Earth or is that away? Because obviously,
No, it's set on the planet Exelon.
so this is essentially, is this the last unit hurrah, really, for the Pertwee era, technically? Because you've got Peladon, then
Um,
Metabilis 3. I know obviously they come back in Planet Spiders, but it's like your last
yeah.
Earthbound unit story,
Um,
apart from Robot.
well, Planet of the Spiders is sort of half and half because it's half set on Earth and half set on Metabilis.
Metabilis 3.
Mm.
But yeah, for me, actually, I was actually kind of surprised at the lack of Brigadier in this story because obviously you get so many other characters that are higher ranked than him that really he doesn't have much to do, because at least for the first 4 parts or 5 parts, he's sort of listening to the people that are above him, sort of thing, and he doesn't really
Mm.
get to be the brig that we know until part 6. Which is, whenever he is that, it's great. I'm just a big fan of the Brigadier, so I love to see him, be in charge and tell the Doctor off. But you don't really get that here because, unfortunately, what's his face? Hang on, let me scroll down. I got a list of the cast. Is it
General
General
something or other.
Finch? General
General
Finch,
Finch, yeah.
played by John Bennett, is just overruling him. And actually,
Mm.
he's a baddie as well. So that's always fun. Would you like to give me like I mean, because I sort of don't get it, you have to explain to me what happened to Yates and the Green Death to sort of make him go anti-unit. I'm sort of confused. I mean, yeah,
Um, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I think it's just the whole, you know, Joe Grant's now gone, which, he held a torch for Joe Grant. Um, and so I think maybe he probably felt a bit bitter when she left. Um, but he's all sort of like, uh, what's the word? I mean, he's how do I put it? Like, about the whole environment thing, like Joe Grant was, trying to save the planet and all that stuff. Um, I think that's basically what he wanted to do, but he was going the wrong way about it.
yeah, he's
So
got good intentions.
I don't think that he necessarily was meant to be bad, just that he thought he was doing this for the greater good.
The greater
Um,
good. So,
but then by the time he comes back in Planet of the Spiders, I mean, he's not working for UNIT anymore, but he's certainly helping them out and trying to redeem himself.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those good things as well. I mean, you get a lot of Benton here, and whatever you think of John Levine, Benton's always a nice presence to have within a
Mm,
story, and especially here because he gets to punch, the general in the face. He gets a nice line at
yeah.
the end that says, It's not every day you get to punch a general in the face," and you know, um, but yeah, I really did like the Yates stuff, especially I think in part 6 when he's got them at gunpoint. That's a really intense scene, and there's obviously a lot of
I
over the
like how
top
he
fighting.
like that. They all sort of like side with the Doctor because they know him well enough, like the Brigadier and Benton, and so you got the General who's like, oh, arrest this man, because he's the one who's creating these monsters. Um, so the Brigadier orders Benton to lock him up, and then Benton gives him the chance to, you know, get away,
Yeah,
and do what he
exactly,
needs to. So, he
exactly,
says,
and
"Oh, do you want to do your Venusian Ujo?" And then the Doctor
yeah.
just sort of like just knocks him out by doing his Venusian nerve pinch, and then does a runner.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Isn't it? I like the fact as well that it wasn't so clear cut, because I thought at the end of part 4, or at the beginning of part 4, whenever the Brigadier says arrest the Doctor, you're under arrest. I was like, oh, not again, because I always hate it when characters are so dumb within stories that it's so clear the Doctor's not done anything, but because
Mm.
because they see something at the wrong point, they go, well, clearly the Doctor's bad now. I don't like that. Obviously, that's just a pet peeve, because in the end they're going to find out the Doctor had nothing to do with it. When
Yeah,
at this point he's been framed so many times that you'd think it might not be the first case, but it
yeah.
benefits the story. For me though, I do feel, although Sarah Jane, whenever she's on screen, does very well, she's not got a lot to do here. She's sort of sidelined to the other arc, and she doesn't really impact anything. She's more just she sort of finds out little bits and pieces, but the Doctor will work that out eventually anyway. I also don't feel like it's really great for their relationship, because you don't really see much of them together in the story at
Mm.
all. And at the end of this, obviously, it's a set up for the Doctor and Sarah to go on and have more adventures, which they'll do. But I feel like, I mean, obviously, I'm, that's come from someone that hasn't watched it. But for me, it was why I wasn't really sold on their relationship. Whenever they were on screen, I enjoyed it, but there wasn't enough of that for me. I did feel like Sarah got sidelined a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, she's very much her her own sort of strong, independent character. I mean, obviously this is why she got her own show on CBBC. Um,
Well, she got
that
another show before that.
she's Hmm?
She got another show before that, didn't she?
Yeah, K9 and Company, which
K9.
was meant to kick off a series then, but it just didn't work out, and they just had that one episode. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, she's a very strong, independent character. So I think that she is good enough, to go off and do her own sort of investigation work because of her being a journalist. Um, but she thinks that you know she can do anything and not get into trouble, but she does, and eventually she'll need help from the doctor or whoever from unit to get her out of that pickle.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like again, like you were saying, I think it's testament to Liz Sladen at this point already that she's differentiated herself from Joe. Not saying Joe's a
Mm,
bad character, but Joe was a lot more caring. Whereas Sarah in this, obviously she's a caring character, but she'll also challenge the doctor. If she doesn't agree with what the doctor's saying, she'll go, "No, doctor, I'm not agreeing with you." Whereas Joe Bill,
mm,
like Joe, obviously wasn't weak. I'm not saying that at all, but she was very much the doctor. Whatever the doctor said, the doctor was right for the most part. Whereas this time Sarah Jane will question the doctor, and I like that there's a difference in that relationship. It's not just the same kind of thing
mm,
because you had Liz Shaw, who was very much the doctor's equal. Then you had Joe, who was the doctor's friend, and now you've got
mm.
Sarah coming in, who's more
Yeah,
like
because
a
I mean,
mix
when
of the.
Joe came in, she was
It
sort
was
of like a very clumsy and ditzy character, and obviously not as clever as Liz Shaw or the Doctor, but she wanted to be there on hand, helping out where she could, and yeah, I think that's she made a great companion. And then when Sarah Jane came in,
she's sort of a mix of the
she
two.
was um, uh, I mean, yeah, she kind of took over uh, that whole thing, and that she could do more, just because she's a very strong character, um, and I think that obviously that's why she stayed on for so long as well, because and I think that's probably what makes her one of the greatest companions of all time.
Yeah, no, I
I mean,
agree.
not everyone will agree with me on that, but everyone to their
I,
own.
No, I think there's no. I think she's one of the greatest companions of all time. I don't think she's one of my favorites, but I think you can't deny. It's like Tom Baker. You can't deny he's one of the best people to play the role, but whether he's your particular favorite is your choice. It's one of those sort of things. For me, I prefer Sarah in the modern day and Sojourn Adventures. I think there's more to her, but here she's definitely not. I say she gets sidelined. I mean, she's not really impacting the story. If Sarah wasn't
Mm,
here, the Doctor would eventually have figured out that, like, what she does is not really necessary. She's more of a character to show us what's going on the other side, more than a
mm.
character that, you know, rather than anything else. Because if
I think
she,
the whole point of her being she's on the other side, like in the spaceship there, so therefore you know because you've got the whole story going on where you've got all these people being kept underground in this spaceship, um, is that she's there to basically break herself out, see where she actually is, and then tell these guys what's going on for them
yeah,
to to all get out and basically confront the people. Why are you keeping us locked up here, and made all this up?
exactly.
So yeah.
No, it's not a disservice. I would have liked to. I guess I would like to have seen her interact with the Doctor a bit more. Is I guess my thing. I would like to have been that main story and just have her be a bit more in the action, as it were.
Mm.
But maybe I was just a bit out of it by that story arc. There's a lot to take in, especially on first time viewing. There's a lot going on here.
I mean, I think she does see quite a bit of action now. I mean, even like when, she goes to get photographs of the T Rex, and obviously things have gone bad and it's all been sabotaged, and then she gets caught up in the middle of it,
Yeah,
gets her head
there's
bashed
blood
in
in
by
this.
a piece of wood.
Yeah,
Um,
there's also a bit
and
in
yeah,
episode one where you see a man's skin ripped off his face. Like it's very gruesome. Like when the guy in the car, his car gets destroyed, and you see like blood coming out of his
oh
head.
yeah, yeah,
It's very gruesome that shot. It's very quick, fleet. You'll miss it, but Jeez, I didn't expect that to see that in Classic Who. We wouldn't
Yeah.
even probably see any of that in
Well,
non-Who,
yeah,
to be
because it
honest.
then turns to sort of like Pertwee, and he just sort of grimaces, at the sight of it.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, I think also I have a question for you. Did we ever figure out why the police didn't answer the phone in the first episode? Because that just completely passed me by.
I think because just the police aren't there; they've been evacuated as well. So it's literally just the army's taken over.
There we go. Um, so is there anything else you want to say before we get into characters and wrap up? Sorry, this is a very quick podcast, but like I said, we've literally chatted the other day, so there's not much to really get onto. But obviously, I do want to keep delivering the weekly episodes of this. I don't want to lose track. Is there anything else that I've missed? I think the music's very good. This as well, actually.
Mm.
While we're here, who did the music? Crew. Uh, hmm. Uh, Dudley Simpson. Oh, of course, it's
Yeah,
Dudley Simpson.
yeah,
Dudley,
good old
you
Dudley.
can't go wrong with a Dudley Simpson score,
Hmm.
which is why I really like it. You know, Dudley's great.
I'm
Anything
sure at
else you
some
want
point
to?
they'll probably release that on soundtrack CD or vinyl with silver screen, like
You're,
they have done with
I
others.
know I know you're hoping for that vinyl release.
I mean, I don't usually collect like soundtracks, just stories on vinyl, really. So they did, for example, Genesis. No, not Genesis. Yeah, Genesis of the Daleks. I mean, that was an original 19,
Yep.
I think late 70s or early 80s. They brought that on vinyl.
Also,
Um,
yep. I just want to
and
say
then
as well,
they
fun
did,
fact. Hang on, I'll let you finish.
yeah, they did other stories like Destiny of the Daleks and Galaxy 4, Daleks Master Plan, all these various stories they released as part of I think it's the
Marco
BBC.
Polo as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, that one as well. It's all done for part of the BBC um, sort of radio collection range.
Yep.
Um, and also they did, was it John Pertwee's Ghosts of In Space and Paradise of Death in the 90s, which were all sort of brand new stories, and then they've gone and released those on vinyl. So they've got quite a wide range that they can do, and I think possibly Invasion of the Dinosaurs was one of them.
Yep, that is possible. I also say as well, this is one of the many appearances of Pat Gorman in Classic Who. He's in this. He's in many stories. It came up in my timeless quiz. Who was in the most classic stories? He was one of them. He is in The Invasion, The War Games, Doctor and the Silurians, Inferno, Terror of the Autons, Colony in Space, Sea Devils, Invasion of Dinosaurs, Planet of Spiders, Genesis of the Daleks, The Masculine Dragora, The Invisible Enemy, and The Armageddon Factor. All in little roles, but they all add up.
Hmm. Oh, and obviously this is the no second time you see Peter Miles as
Yes,
so he's in this as Professor Whitaker.
yes.
Previously to that, you would see him as Dr. Lawrence in Doctor Who and Silurians, and then you see him in his final appearance as Nyder in Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah, let's talk about let's talk about Whitaker then. He's in it very little. As far as I'm aware, Whitaker's the one that Yates goes to at the start, isn't it? He's one of those people that is that correct? Or am I on the wrong path
So
here?
Whitaker is basically he's the professor who's come up with the whole being able to roll back time. So after sort of you know coming up with the theory to begin with, and he had it all rejected. So he's basically gone stuff you lot, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like he's not in it much, but when he is there, it's great. Well, Charles Grover, now isn't he one of the people that is behind all this as well? He's
Mm,
one of the people that's in on it, and he comes across as a friendly face, but actually, he's a bit of an asshole.
mm, massive traitor.
There's a lot of people in this that have very small roles, but they add up to the rest of the story.
Mm.
Okay,
Oh,
let's go. Let's
Martin
go.
Jarvis
Yeah,
is in this as well, and of course he appears in the Sixth Doctor story, Vengeance on Varos.
yes, indeed. He just plays the butler in this. But let's get into our mains then. So obviously we've got Sergeant Benton, John Levine. What a character he is! Not
Mm.
just Benton, but also John Levine. Um, but Here he serves. Again, he's not in it much, but when he's there, he's always a friendly face that you can always rely on to bring some comedy when needed. He also gets a bit of action. I do love the fact that within this story, he chokes out Yates, but Yates passes out within seconds. So I don't want to be in. I don't want to be in a chokehold from Benton because I feel like if Yates passes out within 2 seconds, I think one of them punches him in the face and he gets in a chokehold. He's out like a light. It's like right. But no, what do you think about Benton within the story?
I mean, I think he's a great character in any of them. He's basically like Unit's henchman.
Yeah, a little bit.
He'll go around, he'll shoot anything, he'll punch anything, all within good reason. Um, and he'll always side with the Doctor, and I think that's what's most important.
He's loyal.
Yeah,
I think that's the main thing. Right, this one's a bit more interesting. What about Yates in the story? I like it. He's there at a decent amount of the story. He doesn't become the big bad, so you don't hate him too much. He's there when required to help the people that we obviously don't want to win the day, but he's there when required to help those guys along to get to their goal.
yeah. I mean,
And I
even though he's he's on the wrong side of things, um, he's still trying to like the whole thing with the sabotage of the instruments, and then he
yeah,
goes back to him and say, oh, you could have got them killed. You know, he's still very defensive of them. Um, so yeah, he's not a baddie.
no, because he doesn't want to hurt anyone.
No,
Like, there are many times in the story where he said, "Oh, I signed up to prevent the Doctor's plans. I didn't want to hurt him or kill him or anything like that."
mm,
So he's definitely not turned bad. I mean, the most heinous thing he does is obviously, put them at gunpoint. But I don't think there's any fear there because I think he would never pull the trigger.
yeah.
To be honest, I think again. What about the brig?
The brig, yeah. I mean,
Again,
um, yeah. I
his
think you were
biggest.
right earlier on when you said about like he sort of sidelined a bit because you got the general who's come in and who's taken charge. So he doesn't really have much to do because he's sort of like he can't do much because he has to go to the general to do stuff. So yeah, not much he can do
Shame.
really
It's a shame. I mean, not that
yeah.
he's doing a bad job. Nick Courtney's always
Until
good.
they obviously find out that general is in on it all.
Yeah,
So then
and then
he
he
sort of like
takes charge in the last part.
takes charge again. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that great moment in part 6 where where I think Finch says, "Move, Brigadier," and he says, "No." And he stands with the Doctor and stops it
Hmm.
from happening, and that is a turning point within the story. What about the old bastard General Finch then, played by John Bennett? What do you think about Finch? I think
Oh, he's
he is
a
a great
bastard,
presence.
isn't he?
I think he's a great
Um,
presence within the story there.
Although I think that's not the first time he's been in Doctor. I think he was probably in Spearhead from Space. I
I can
think.
check. I can check. No, he's just in Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Oh, because he looked very much like one of the uh
Maybe John Bennett's been
sort
in more.
he looks very much like one of the Autons, or the plastic waxwork dummies that you see in that story.
Oh, he was Lee Sen Chang in Talons of Wing Chang. John Bennett. Wow. Shit.
Oh, okay.
There you go. There's something for you. As a
I
nugget
didn't
drop.
know that.
Again, he's the perfect foil, isn't he, to our main characters? He's very good. Again, not
Yeah.
an overbearing presence. He's very good. He leans a bit on the side of, your typical 70s villain of like, oh yes, so but we don't get too much of it, and therefore it's very good. I think. What about our main two then, Sarah and the Doctor? Overall, I think John Pertwee and Elizabeth Sane are doing a fantastic job, both of them, with what they've got. Apart from that one moment with John Pertwee, which will forever slightly begrudge me if I ever go back to watch this. Just the blind stare up at the dinosaurs. Oh, look at that. Apart from that,
Hmm.
though, I think he's great. What about you?
I think they're amazing as ever. Um, the Doctor's got everything going on in that one. He's got his Venusian Aikido. He's got his vehicles. He's facing up to dinosaurs, inventing devices. Just being the Doctor really.
Yes,
And yes, Sarah Jane's amazing to be doing her sort of like she's got her uh, journalistic head on, doing a sort of investigating, see what's going on, um, kind of reporting back to the Doctor as and when, but also getting, you know, caught up in shit in between.
exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I think yeah, like they're used to perfection when they are used. I just wish Sarah Jane was done a bit more, and a bit more to do. For sure. I also I wonder I was watching during the
I mean,
episode.
you
So
kind of also feel sorry for
I,
Sarah Jane in that as well because
yeah, because
obviously,
to my
you know,
knowledge, she gets stripped
she
naked when she's knocked out and gets that suit put on her, and she goes because it was put on her randomly. So I guess they must have when she was
yeah.
knocked out stripped her naked and put those clothes on her. Which
Mm,
yeah, that's an undertone that you probably didn't think of when you were watching the episode, and now you have.
I had actually.
It's yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah,
Did she ever get her clothes back? I suppose at the end she's wearing them again, isn't she? So she found them.
I have no idea. Maybe.
Who knows? That should be an epic. That should have been the story, not the dinosaurs. Where's Sarah Jane's clothes? Oh, great. Right then, mate. Scores on the doors. I'll let you go first, as always.
9.5 out of 10.
I'm gonna go 8 out of 10. It's heavily enjoyable, but there are parts where I do find it a bit slow, and for that, but part forward is kind of unnecessary, in my opinion. Not much happens, but apart from that, it's solid. Who it emphasizes the best of the Pertwee era, with it being ridiculous and fun and action packed, and
Mm.
that's what the best thing about John Pertwee and his era in all is that it's just action packed, sort of like James Bond esque stuff, which is amazing. So yeah, there you go. A 9.5 from Owen and a 7.5, no, an 8 from me. Right, before we get into figuring out what we're going to review next month, we do have obviously an audio clip from our friend Mr. John Cook, which I will play to you all now.
Invasion of the Dinosaurs, what can I say? As the showman once said, very much maligned and misunderstood. People focus on the CESO dinosaurs and they slate it. I'm sorry, but no, not having that. It is classic, classic, classic Pertwee, Golden Age Pertwee. And there's a little pun for you, Operation Golden Age. Episode 1 is one of the finest single episodes of Classic Who you will ever find. It's eerie, it's spooky, it's spectacular. You're sitting there wondering what the fuck is going on. The fact that they actually called it Invasion rather than Invasion of the Dinosaurs means that cliffhanger at the end of episode 1 hits you there. It's like, and for those that can't see it, I'm hitting myself right in the gut, which is everybody. You can't see it because you're on a podcast. It's my world now. So it's like, wow, what's going on? It's not like one of these Dalek stories, like every Dalek story, where the end of episode 1 cliffhanger is the reveal of a fucking Dalek when there's fucking Daleks in the title and Daleks are coming. No, it's a dinosaur. It's called Invasion. You're like, wow, brilliant. And then you get further into the plot, unlike everyone's involved. It's a massive conspiracy. Even Mike is in there. He's involved. You cannot trust anyone. You're in Stone Cold Steve Austin land. DTA. Don't trust anybody. In my view, the cliffhanger at the end of episode 3, we've been here for X number of months on this spaceship, is brilliant. One of the single best cliffhangers in all of Doctor Who. They should do more cliffhangers in Doctor Who. Chibnall should take note of this. Give us more cliffhangers in modern Who. There's a reason that Series 9 works so well. It's because you had cliffhanger, 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 cliffhanger. just works.
Disagree.
They get you tuning in next week. They're fucking brilliant. And episode 3 of Invasion of Dinosaurs is one of the best cliffhangers you'll get. I mean, okay, I'm not coming at this from an unbiased perspective. I love Pertwee. I adore Pertwee. He's my boy. But this is... Most people would call it a guilty pleasure. I wouldn't even call it a guilty pleasure because guilty infers there's something wrong with it. There is fucking nothing wrong with this. It's beautiful. I know the boys are probably reviewing this because it gets panned a little bit because previously they've done fucking Time Lash and stuff like that just to have a laugh. Nah. This is solid gold. Who? All-time top 30 story. Beautiful stuff. I mean... You've even got Martin Jarvis in one of his many roles, but we can kind of forget about that a little bit. You've got John Bennett in there. One of us is yellow. It's not actually this one. He's not yellowed up in this particular story. That's later on that he does that. But it's just oozes amazingness, awesomeness, and personally, I cannot wait for a season 11 collection at some point. And yeah, we might get some kick-ass Jurassic Park style dinosaurs, but I know when it comes through my mailbox, I'll be watching the classic ones first with the CS overlays and just sitting there back in my childhood like this is amazing. 10 out of 10. Drink your milk. Eat your vitamins, say your prayers. Good night, God bless.
There you go. It's the thing that was most heinous about that review was that he said series and the Doctor Who was good. That was the worst thing. I mean, I agree with it on the most part.
I agree with everything John says on that.
I wouldn't say top
even
30
about
story.
the cliffhangers,
The
especially
cliffhangers are great.
in Series 9.
What, in the Peter Capaldi Series 9?
Yeah.
I think Series 9 is god-awful.
I mean, I think it's great. I mean, there's a couple I would take out of that. I would get rid of the whole Ashilda me saga because that just, to me, I don't like Ashilda personally.
No, me neither. And she's in one, two, three, four of the buggers. So that takes 4 of them out. Then the Dalek story can get rid. And then you've got, you've got the Under the Lake story I'll give you, the Zygon story I'll give you, and Face the Raven and Hellbent are great. So 6 out of 12 are good stories. The other 6, bit them off. But no, I mean, yeah, John's right there. I think the only thing I disagree with is this wouldn't be in my top 30.
I don't even think bin them off. I think just rewrite the stories completely.
Which is essentially binning them off. If you were to rewrite a story entirely,
I mean, like rewriting them, sort of. I mean, maybe get rid of the whole ones with like Ashilda, because I just don't see the point. I mean, maybe do something else with Greek mythology like Odin and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be good. But this isn't a Series 9 discussion, so we'll just keep this until we get to a Series 9 story.
We'll save it for another time.
So we're not. But yeah, so I also with John there, I almost agree with everything. I don't agree that this wouldn't be in my top 30 stories. I don't think either. I think there's probably maybe even 3 or 4 Pertwee stories I would prefer to this. But it's a good story. I recommend if you guys watch this maybe when you were younger, go check it out again. Maybe now you're older, you have that more respect for the time, and you won't find it as silly. I mean, it is overtly silly anyway, with dinosaurs attacking London, and nobody seems to really give a shit apart from the army. Really.
There's no one there really to, give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been kind of funny to see. It would have kind of been funny to see actual, like civilians, and see what they think, just running amok. But obviously, the one civilian we did see, he got his head splattered.
Yep.
So Owen, I'm going to ask you, what are you hoping for next month? What Doctor? Not maybe a story, but what Doctor would you like to be reviewing?
Ooh,
I'm about to spin the wheel. We got everything in here. We got everything but Series 12. So Series 11's here. The reason I've not done Series 12 is because we reviewed that on the show previously when I obviously first started. So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to do anything, I suppose, especially if it's at random.
Okie dokie. Right.
Which I hope it's a story I
3,
like.
3, 2, 1. Interesting. Okay. Take a guess at what you think we've got. You don't need to guess the episode. If you guess the Doctor, then you've smashed it.
Which Doctor?
I'll tell you now, it's not Pertwee again, if that helps.
Okay, is it Patrick Troughton?
Nope, it's a new series.
Oh, new series. Okay. 10th Doctor.
No, it's 12th Doctor. We're going all the way back to Cohill School because next month we will be reviewing The Caretaker. Yeah. We had to get the
To
shit
be
one
honest, I
out.
don't like that one.
Well, maybe a rewatch will change your mind.
No.
No? we'll find out next month.
I've
But
watched it
until then,
quite a few times, and yeah, my mind hasn't changed.
Until then, though, Owen, there'll be more drunk watch-alongs. Maybe there'll be one
Yep.
this week. Who knows? Depends what people are up to. Until then, though, next week on the show, Reese Marshall was back. Yes, I know he wasn't on the 1 year anniversary. I ran out of money. So he will be back there next week because the second year money has rolled in. So I've been able to bring him back. And we'll talk about Avengers: Age of Ultron. And Owen, you've been going on a little Marvel binge. What do you think about
Yep.
it?
Loved it. I mean, I watched it when it first came out in cinemas, and I enjoyed it then. So yeah.
There we go. Owen's really looking forward to The Caretaker. Also on the channel, probably tomorrow. Actually, me and John will be reviewing the Royal Rumble, but that will just be a YouTube video, not a podcast. So, by all means, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, please do so if you like your wrestling stuff. And until then, we'll see you guys soon. Sorry, this is a bit short, but there wasn't much to talk about because we've been chatting all week. We chatted 2 hours beforehand the other night, so we're doing quite mute. Until then, though, look
Yeah.
after yourselves and
Nice short and sweet one this time.
yeah, we'll see you guys next month for reviewing reasons. But me and Owen will see you getting drunk in the near future.
Take care.
Goodbye.